So on to our business agenda. Presentation of the mid-biennium update and proposed 2024 financial policies. So I'll hand this over to Eric Christensen and Caitlin Graham.
Madam Mayor, if I may, for a brief second, have the council's attention. I just wanted to share with council just the appreciation that the team has for the work that Eric and Caitlin pulled together, and the respective members of their team. Pulling together our budget document is not easy. They interact with every department director multiple times throughout the process. They work with me, then they go back and work on the budget again. Then they, at the same time, also work with our state auditors to make sure that our audit process is moving along smoothly. So I just wanted to take this time to recognize their efforts to council, not just for creating the budget document that you review, but to make sure that it is as accurate as possible, while also getting glowing reviews on every audit process that we've had for the last several years. So thank you.
Good evening. Next slide, please. Tonight, we begin the mid-buy budget review with an overview of proposed changes to the city's operating funds: General Fund, Street Fund, and Surface Water Management Fund. Per the budget calendar, several budget meetings are scheduled during the month of October and November, with a budget ordinance scheduled for adoption on December 4th. On October 16th, we'll be holding the first public hearing and will continue the budget presentation and discussion with an overview of the capital improvement program and remaining funds. I would like to recognize Adolfo Bailon, City Manager, Caitlin Graham, Financial Analyst, and the leadership team members for their assistance with the development of the mid-buy proposal. This presentation and future presentation represent a major work product from staff. Next slide, please. As you recall, the key themes of the 23-24 adopted budget consisted of continuing to provide funding for important programs and services, partial allocation of ARPA funds for the Enhanced Public Safety Program, balanced general fund with the use of city manager's designated reserve, and adequate reserves for the budget period. The general fund's reserve fund balance met the 20% required amount, and the city manager's reserve maintained an extra layer of protection for economic risk and to potentially fund unexpected costs and one-time initiatives. In addition, we continued to maintain funding for a future investment in a maintenance facility. Next slide, please. The purpose of the mid-buy review is to address budgetary items that need modification and by state law must be completed no sooner than September 1st and no later than December 31st. In other words, this is an update and to amend the 23-24 adopted budget. Proposed changes consist of technical adjustments for both revenues and expenditures, and expenditure enhancements for new opportunities and to meet needs. As part of this update, the remaining ARPA funds have been allocated. Due to the adoption and implementation of the revenue loss allowance last year, the funds are now referred to as the city's COVID-19 pandemic recovery funds. In addition, the general fund remains balanced with the use of the city's manager's reserve, and overall adequate reserves remain for this budget period. Next slide. As we begin the review of the operating funds, let's start with the general fund. Staff is recommending an overall increase in revenues for both fiscal years 23 and 24. In 2023, the increase is 1.05 million, and in 2024, the increase is 891,000. In general, the revenue changes are based on current fiscal conditions and trends, recognition of grant awards, and enhanced programming. These amounts are reflected on the slide in the proposed changes columns for both 2023 and 2024. Next slide. In 2023, the revenue increase is primarily led by sales tax in the amount of 665,000 and intergovernmental revenue in the amount of 421,000. The sales tax increase is based on the current trend of collections. The increase in intergovernmental revenue is led by an increase in criminal adjusting funding from Washington State and several grant awards. King County awarded grants to the city for the police department's co-response team and parks programming related to the Veterans, Seniors, and Human Services levy. In addition, Parks was awarded grants from the Washington State Recreation and Conservation Office and Highline School District for various programs. In 2024, the revenue increase is primarily led by sales tax in the amount of $676,000 and anticipated revenue related to the return of summer day camp for youth in the amount of $192,000. The return of this camp was approved by council earlier this year. Next slide. Regarding expenditures for the general fund, staff is recommending an overall increase in the amounts of $509,000 in 2023 and $6.6 million in 2024. These amounts are reflected on the slide in the proposed changes columns for both 23 and 24. Next slide, please. The increase in 2023 is primarily driven by one-time expenditures related to grant awards and the city's COVID-19 pandemic recovery funds. $200,000 for business security enhancements is funded by the COVID-19 pandemic recovery funds. The remaining variance is led by grant expenditures for payroll, supplies, and professional services. Next slide, please. Like 2023, the increase in 2024 is primarily driven by one-time expenditures related to the city's COVID-19 pandemic recovery funds and grant awards. In addition, there are other key expenditure drivers related to ongoing expenditures and enhancements. The following slides will highlight if the expenditure changes are ongoing or one-time. Regarding payroll, the increase is led by the following changes. Increase in the amounts of $156,000 for intermittent staff related to the park summer camp. It is anticipated that revenue from the summer camp will offset the related expenditures. Increase in the amount of $112,000 with the one-year extension of the temporary assistant planner to the end of 2024. This extension will assist with the workload in the planning division. Increase in the amount of $70,000 for the conversion of parks maintenance assistants to one full-time employee. This personnel change will help to meet the organizational needs of the department. Regarding other services, the increase is led by insurance in the amount of $669,000. This is the insurance fee by the Washington City's Insurance Authority. According to WCIA, this increase is due to an overall rate adjustment in the liability rate and individual member claim losses. They disclose that there have been significant draws on the authority's reserve level in the current risk environment. This is now a challenging expense for staff to forecast from year to year. Next slide. Regarding professional services, the increase is led by the COVID-19 pandemic recovery projects. These projects are considered one-time expenses and are covered by the associated funds. Other highlights include the following. Grant-related expenditure in the amount of $275,000 for the police department's co-response team. $90,000 for a new website to replace the existing website due to several technical and customer support challenges. An increase in the amount of $80,000 to extend the contract related to the Community Connectors program. The contract will be extended in 2024 while staff work to bring the management of the program in-house. And $60,000 for the consulting services related to franchise fee negotiations. As part of this process, it is likely that the cost will be reimbursed by the franchise companies. Next slide, please. The COVID-19 pandemic recovery projects are highlighted on this slide. The total amount of these projects is $4.3 million. As you know, these projects were approved by the council last year and staff is currently making progress on the implementation action plan. The goal for these projects is to expend and/or obligate the funds by the end of 2024. If funds are obligated by the end of 2024, the funds need to be expended by the end of 2026. Next slide. Other highlights regarding the professional services include the following. Increase in King County District Court cost in the amount of $215,000 due to the return to the pre-pandemic activity level. Increase in score for jail services in the amount of $182,000 due to the city's activity level. This is calculated based on the average daily population number over a 3-year period. Increase in the amount of $44,000 to transition the city's financial system to the cloud. The transition will lead to less labor effort for both finance and information systems related to the system updates, small and large. Increase in the amount of $40,000 to increase funding for nuisance and abatement activities. Increase in the amount of $39,000 for services related to the park summer camp. Again, it is anticipated that revenue from the summer camp will offset the related expenditures. Increase in the amount of $27,500 in professional services for federal lobbying activities. A new lobbyist was selected due to the retirement of the former lobbyist. And an increase in the amount of $5,135 for human services programs due to the adjustment in the per capita rate. The rate is increasing from $8.50 to $8.89. This is an annual adjustment per the financial policies. Slide 13, next slide, please. With this update, the estimated ending reserve balances for the general fund remains adequate for this budget period. In both years, the city meets the 20% minimum operating reserve and maintains funding for the construction of the maintenance facility. In addition, a new reserve established to fund the COVID-19 pandemic recovery projects. As you can see, the city manager's designated reserve is used to balance the budget by funding both one-time items and ongoing expenses outside of grants and the COVID funds. The use of this reserve for ongoing expenses is not sustainable in the out years. It'll be key to continue the discussion on considering new or enhanced revenue sources to address the general fund's revenue gap. Next slide, please. Like the general fund, the street fund is balanced in both 2023 and 2024. The street fund provides for the maintenance of city streets and rights of way. As part of this review, the revenues have been updated based on the current trend. It remains important to monitor the motor vehicle fuel tax with lower demand due to higher gas prices, increase in telework, and more fuel efficient vehicles. On the expenditure side, there's a 2023 increase in the amount of $15,000 to assist with the purchase of an upgraded truck replacement. This purchase will lead to an additional plow and sander during the winter season. The overall cost of the upgrade is shared with the Surface Water Management Fund. Next slide. The Surface and Water Management Fund is also balanced in 2023 and 2024. This fund accounts for the maintenance and improvement of the city storm drainage system. In 2023, there is an increase in the amount of $56,000 to assist with the shared purchase with the street fund of the upgraded truck replacement. In 2024, and per the city's financial policies, the storm drainage fees and charges have been increased by the Consumer Price Index for inflation. It is key to adjust the fees on an annual basis to avoid losing purchasing power to inflation. An ordinance will be introduced in November as part of the budget process for this revenue increase. On the expenditure side, the increase reflects adjustments for salaries and benefits. Next slide, please. Regarding the financial policies, one change is proposed. Staff recommends increasing the per capita rate from $8.50 to $8.89 for the human service programs. This annual adjustment to the per capita rate is based on the city's financial policies and is led by the Consumer Price Index factor. This change is included in the financial policies that are attached to the agenda bill. Last slide, next slide, please. This concludes my presentation on the city's 3 operating funds and financial policies. As shared earlier, many budget meetings are scheduled during the month of October and November. On October 16th, staff will be presenting the capital improvement programs and remaining funds. We look forward to working with you as we move forward with the budget process.
Deputy Mayor.
I just want to say great work. We all know that y'all have worked so hard on this and we'll continue to work hard on this, and it's emblematic in what you presented today, but also in the work that's going to go forward in the next couple of months. So we'll have lots more conversations. It's looking really good. I'm happy you didn't say there's something catastrophic happening. So congratulations on.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Other questions? We increased the human services per capita last year as well, did we not?
Yes, that is correct. Staff, the city manager's budget recommended it per the financial policies. And so it was at a certain rate, but we increased it, the council increased it beyond that to 850. So this year, we're doing just the standard increase per the financial policies.
Okay, and so what's been the outcome of the increase in the rate?
Well, that increased the budget for the human services programs. And then I would have to defer to Colleen and that group to provide more.
I'd just be interested in how much more could we help with last year's increase. And so, but this year, the proposal is to add additional funding.
Yeah, every year it's recommended that we increase the funding by the CPI.
Oh, okay.
And that's per the financial policies.
Great.
I do not recall the exact increase in dollar amount last year, but it was a good amount. And then calling human services have done contracts in regard to that dollar amount.
Other questions?
Councilmember Garcia has his hand up.
Oh, sorry about that, Councilmember Garcia, go ahead.
Can you hear me? Thank you.
Yep.
I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation. I know it's a heavy lift. Looking forward to the following months or this next couple of months meetings. It's probably the most important thing we'll be going over in the next that'll impact the next couple of years. So thank you.
Councilmember Sarah.
I wanted to concur in thanking you heartily for doing this. I did want to ask what happens with the ARPA funding? Is that just going to be taken care of, or will we have further information and updates on it, or if it just gets spent?
What's going on with this mid-buy update is that we needed to provide the appropriation authority in the budget for these projects. That wasn't included in the adopted budget. So that's why we're adding it now. And now due to the revenue loss, we refer to it as the city's COVID pandemic recovery funds. It's just a technical adjustment. But now the monies are officially in the reserve. And then so with these projects that you approved, staff is in process of working on them and the action implementation plan, and we'll keep you posted as they move forward.
Thank you. And I'll practice calling it the COVID reserve.
And COVID pandemic recovery funds, and it's covered by the new
I'll
reserve.
practice and say it right next time.
Other questions or comments? Okay, that's it.
Yep, that's it.
Madam Mayor, I believe Councilmember Garcia. Oh,
Nope, just lowered it.
Okay, thank you.
Just for clarification too, in regard to the, when we moved to 850 from the prior number, that resulted in an additional dollars, about $46,000.
Okay. Well, and I'm just interested in how that money was put to use versus the amount. And so if you need to come back with that, that's fine.
Yeah, we can coordinate with Human Services and provide that information to you at council.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.